Aetherworks Marvel is a card that receives much criticism due to its ability to cast cards without paying their mana cost. What you may not realize is this ability has been around since 2004, some 13 years ago. Even though these cards have the ability to play cards without paying their mana cost, most come with limitations greater than Aetherworks Marvel. On the other side of the coin, there are cards that are much more powerful. More specifically, we have found over 150 modern playable cards that have this ability. Although we cannot list all of the cards in the video nor in our description, we will be covering some of the most notable playable modern cards. Originally, my plan was to write something and put it together. But instead of doing that, I decided let's go ahead and discover these cards together. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and I'll share my desktop with you guys. Now, the website is magiccards.info, and in the advanced search query for the rules text, I put in paying without paying mana costs, and I also used a modern filter. So as you see here down at the bottom, we're looking at card number 164 out of 164. There's a lot of cards. We're not going to go through all of them. I'm going to breeze through a lot of them, but I wanted to go through these and sort of put out there that, yes, is Aetherworks Marvel a card in Standard today a powerful card? Yes. Is it broken? I don't think so. In fact, and I think there's other people that have said the same thing, but there's this huge debate amongst Magic players, and so I decided I wanted to make a video about this. Casting cards without paying mana costs is not new. It's been around since 2004. We've already established that. Additionally, there's 100 or so cards in Modern that are playable that have that ability. I think what I believe is broken, or what I think is the reasons why Aetherworks Marvel is looked upon as a broken or overpowered or OP or card that's looked upon as something that it hurts the format, is it's the only card out there in the format that allows this ability. Versus in Modern, again, like I just said, there's over 150. So I think it's more or less the cards that you're allowed to cast with it, or the cards that you're allowed to go fetch for, is more of the problem than the actual card doing the function. So for instance, I think in the comparison of what is broken in Aetherworks Marvel, is it Aetherworks Marvel or is it the card that it's casting? I think that Umlog is broken and too powerful to play in the same sort of meta as Aetherworks Marvel. Much like some of these other cards that we're going to talk about and we're going to look at. If you took Aetherworks Marvel out and you put this single card in, and it was the only card that was able to do that, it would have that same effect. For instance, I'm going to say Ancestral Vision, right? If Ancestral Vision was standard legal today, and let's say Aetherworks Marvel is out of the picture, would that card be considered one of the most powerful cards? How many decks could play that card and be effective with it? Well, first off, you only need one blue mana, right? So if you have many different lands that allow you to give blue mana, or you have Aether Hub that allows you to ping for one blue mana, the energy mechanic, Aether Hub, any of these other things to get multiple sources of. Basically, what I'm saying is any of these suspended cards, like Ancestral Visions, would be considered overpowered, much like Aetherworks Marvel is. So I don't think it's the cards that are overpowered. It's more or less where it fits in the meta of the cards that it's being played in. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and go through some of these. Some of these I've never heard of. Some of these are very interesting. Some I might actually consider looking into playing. So, but probably wouldn't be in a tier 1 deck, or they'd be in there already. However, going back to Travis Wu's story about Living End, the card Living End was out for a year before anybody started playing it. Now, granted, a lot of these cards have been out for quite a while, but sometimes you can find a combination, or a combination sort of discovers itself when some new cards come out. So that's just something to think about. Even though these cards aren't being played today, that doesn't mean they won't be played next month, next year, or even 2 to 3, 5 years from now. So it's just something to think about when you are talking about cards that aren't being played. So, for instance, we're gonna start out with this one, number 164. This was the first set to have these cards. Is this set here? Is Mirrodin, right? So this set came out in 2004. Mirrodin and Fifth Dawn were the sets that started printing cards to where you can copy other cards and play them without paying their mana costs. So, for instance, Spellweaver Helix, the imprint says, imprint function, when Spellweaver Helix enters the battlefield, you may exile 2 target sorcery cards from a single graveyard. Whenever a player casts a card, if it has the same name as one of the cards exiled with Spellweaver Helix, you may copy the other. If you do, you may cast that copy without paying its mana cost. Now, this is 2004, so basically what you're doing is you're exiling a spell whenever a player casts. So whether yourself or somebody or your opponent or opponents, you can then copy that and play it without paying its mana cost. Well, I think if that particular function was in standard right now, let's say Dark Salvation sorcery, but then there's also the next one, which is Spellbinder. Some people may have heard of this one as well. Spellbinder enters the battlefield. You may exile an instant card from your hand. Whenever a equipped creature deals damage to a player, you may copy that exiled card. If you do, you may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. Again, if this card was in standard, it would get criticized heavily. Let's see. Pano, whatever this name of this card is. Exile an instant or sorcery card with a converted mana cost of X from your hand. Beginning your upkeep, you may copy a card exiled. If you do, you may cast a copy without paying its mana cost. Again, it's this cycle right here of the Spellweaver Helix, Spellbinder, and this card, the Mirror card. This card is banned in Commander. Something tells you that this is a pretty wicked card. Well, wait a minute. Actually, yeah, it is a pretty wicked card, because then you would have this card and you can play it multiple times. You wouldn't need, because with Commander you only have one copy, right? So that'd be like you can play an instant or sorcery any amount of times that you want to. Wow, that's interesting. No wonder it's banned in Commander. Reversal of Fortune, a very well-known and popular card. Target opponent reveals his or her hand. You may copy an instant or sorcery card in it. If you do, you may cast the copy of it without paying its mana cost. Again, that's the same thing as going in and looking at somebody's hand. You're playing red-blue, and you have Fatal Push, or you have Yanni's Expertise, something that costs 5 mana. Brawl's Expertise, or any of these sort of instants or sorceries that are high mana cost because they are a post threat. But here you are, you can then cast at any time. Now, Reversal of Fortune, sure, it's cost 6 mana to cast, but the whole point is this whole idea of casting free cards is new. It's really not that new. Let's go to the next page. We have Restore Balance. So any of the suspend cards, you can consider any of those being part of the, if they were in standard, would they be powerful and 2-powered if they were the only one? So Restore Balance, if Restore Balance was in standard today, let's read this really quick, right? Suspend 6. Rather than casting this card from your hand, exile it with 6 time counters. Okay, so let's just say you have, at worst, you top decked it on your next turn, on your second turn, right? So you play this down 1 white mana. Each player chooses a number of lands he or she controls equal to the number of lands controlled by the other player who controls the fewest, then sacrifices the rest. Players sacrifice creatures and discards cards the same way. I mean, if this was in standard today, people would be bitching about it. People would be complaining, and they would be calling for it to be banned. Again, this card was released in 2006. 11 years ago. All right, Viscera Deepwalker. Never seen this one before. Oh, this is a suspend creature. Okay, so suspend 4. Corpulent Corpse. 3/3 zombie with Fear. Fear, if nobody is familiar with Fear, it's kind of an older mechanic, but this creature can't be blocked except by artifact or black creatures. Okay, so so suspend cards, suspend Living End. We all know about Living End. Mistab. So we can blow past these suspend cards. Okay, so here we go. High Arcanist. Untap target creature. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to and dealt by that creature this turn. Again, this is another suspend creature. So it's a 3/5 for 2 in 4 turns. So even if you play this in turn 3 and turn 7, you have a 3/5 vigilance, pretty much bomb card. If this was in standard today, whew, don't you think? I mean, instead of paying 7 mana costs, let's see. Surging Sentinels. First strike, Ripple 4. When you cast the spell, you may reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You may cast any revealed cards with the same name as this spell without paying their mana cost. Put the rest at the bottom of your library. So really, let's just put a bunch of surging sentinels in your hand, or in your library. You're gonna basically scry 4, or in this case, Ripple 4, same thing, and you're gonna put another one of these on the battlefield. Yeah, it's a 2/1, but it's a 2/1 for a striker. This would be a pretty powerful card in standard today. Surging Ether, another Ripple. So these are all Ripple 4s. Ripple effect can be pretty crazy too. Here's an artifact. Spells you control have Ripple 4. There you go. For 5 land. Around the same kind of mana cost, Aetherworks Marvel. I mean, the difference here is you don't need a resource in order for this to play. So you pay 5 mana, and you basically have a ripple 4 effect for every single spell that you play. How's that not OP? Imagine if this card was in standard today. I mean, I think this is more powerful than having Aetherworks Marvel. I don't know. Because Aetherworks Marvel, you need a resource. You need mana. You need energy. If you don't have energy, you can't tap it. You can't tap it. You can't spin the wheel. I mean, think about this. So Thrumming Stone, let's just say today's standard, if you had Lord of the Cursed and you were playing a zombie deck. Although I don't think you'd be playing this in a zombie deck, but you get what I'm saying. Eye of the Storm, whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery card, exile it. Then that player copies each instant or sorcery card exile with Eye of the Storm. For each copy, that player may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. There you go. Cast some instants and sorceries, exile them, and then copy them. Lightning Bolt, Magma Spray can destroy a whole board almost in a way, right? Granted, it is 7 mana cost, which is pretty heavy. I don't think anybody would be playing that. It was likely a better limited card than anything else. Sins of the Past. Okay, so 6 mana cost. Let's do this. Let's focus on something that's 4 or 5 less here. There we go. Kaho, Minimo, Historian, whatever. I'm so bad with names. You guys know that by now, I'm sure. When Historian enters a battlefield, search your library for up to 3 instant cards and exile them. Then shuffle your library. You may cast a card with converted mana cost X, exiled with Kaho without paying its mana cost. Dude, you could just exile your spells all day. So imagine this with Torrential Gearhulk. I mean, you basically play Torrential Gearhulk, you exile your spell, and then the next time you cast it, you can, or if you play this creature, you can then cast them from exile. So you then almost have them, you have 12 of your spells, essentially speaking. Just saying. Shell of the Last Kappa. Exile target instant or sorcery spell that targets you. The spell has no effect. Okay, so this is like a form of counterspell. Sacrifice Shell of the Last Kappa. You may cast a card exiled with Shell of Kappa without paying its mana cost. Well, there you go. I mean, here you're paying 3 to actually do it. But again, with Aetherworks Marvel, you're paying 6 energy. You still have to play spells to get up that resource, right? So, a lot of people associate Aetherworks Marvel as saying, oh, it's free cast, it's free cast. Well, not really, because you have to execute and cast spells to get energy. Now, granted, yes, is energy fairly easy to come by? Yes. I think one thing to think about is, or one thing that I think about anyways, is if they would have printed maybe 2 or 3 different spells that actually affected energy, then I think Aetherworks Marvel would not be in a conversation. Or at least I don't think so. Some food for thought there. All right, so let's move on. Let's see if there's any other interesting ones here. Spellweaver Volute. Enchant instant card in graveyard. Oh, this should be interesting. Whenever you cast a sorcery spell, copy the enchanted instant card. You may cast a copy without paying its mana cost. If you do, exile the enchanted card and attach Spellweaver Volute to another instant card in the graveyard. I mean, come on. I mean, so you basically, this is 5 mana. This would be a bomb in standard too. So take Spellweaver Volute, I think that's how you pronounce it, and you combine it with this one here, Kaho, and Torrential Gearhulk. You would literally just have an infinite loop of spells. It's not that smooth and not that exact, but you get what I'm saying. The concept is there. I mean, it was very, very high concept, but I think you get what I mean. I mean, it's just some of these cards. I mean, Everybody wants to talk really bad about Aetherworks Marvel, but let's see here. Thunderblade Charge does 3 damage to target creature or player whenever one or more creatures you control deal damage to a player. And if Thunderblade Charge is in your graveyard, you may pay. If you do, you cast it. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So that's... I don't know what that card is doing. Suspend. No, here. What was this one? You gain 20 life. Spend 10. Can you imagine playing this? Let's play this. Have this in standard. That'd be ridiculous. You have 4 of those in your hand, you just spend them. Yeah. Some of these cards, man, if you only knew what they would be like. Spell Shift. Counter target instant or sorcery spell. Its controller reveals cards from the top of his or her library until he or she reveals an instant or sorcery card. That player may cast that card without paying its mana cost. He or she shuffles his or her library. Yeah, okay. Let's see, what else? Suspend. A lot of suspend cards at this time. Okay, so here you go. The rebound ability. The rebound ability is in this whole Worldwake block, right? Or, what is this? Rise of the Eldrazi, right? Rebound. If you cast this spell from your hand, exile it as it resolves. At the beginning of your next end step, you may cast this card from exile without paying its mana cost. There you go. Return an instant card at random from your graveyard to your hand. Rule at War. At first post-combat phase this turn, there's an additional combat phase followed by an additional main phase. At the beginning of combat, untap all creatures that attack this turn. Okay. Rebound. Target creature gets +2/+2 until the end of turn. For 1 mana. There you go. -7 on Chandra Ablaze. Cast any number of red instant or sorcery cards from your graveyard without paying their mana costs. Yeah, that wouldn't be so bad, huh? Do you think that's more powerful than Marvel? I don't know. It comes with a 5 loyalty in. You plus her twice, and then ultimate her. Ouch. Ouchie, ouchie. I didn't play standard at that time. I can imagine that had to have been a pain to play against. Let's see what else. Violent Outburst with the Cascade. Living End, anybody? Demonic Dread. Let's see. Maelstrom Nexus. This is another really infamous, widely known card. First spell you play each turn has Cascade. Ouch. Ugly. Maelstrom Angel. Whenever Maelstrom Angel deals combat damage to a player, you may play a non-land card from your hand without paying its mana cost. What? So I not only swing at the face for 5, but I am going to hit you with another spell. Well, I think you get my point. I guess all I'm saying is there's plenty of cards out there that at one point in time was in standard that allowed you to play cards without paying their mana cost. I think the thing we have to think about and what we have to realize is it's not about the card itself that makes it broken. It's the cards around it. Let's just take a look at 2 cards one card that's been banned and another card that likely should be banned but is rotating out soon. Emrakul the Promised End was banned because in turn 4, you can bring it out with Aetherworks Marvel, right? Now, equally, Aetherworks Marvel on its own, taking out Emrakul, wasn't powerful, right? It was a card that wasn't used. But then people realized, oh, let's use Umlog, right? So if we took out Umlog, we already took out Emrakul. What else is left out there that's going to be drastically broken? that would change the game, which would be a very devastating blow for somebody to play in a win condition just by playing it. There's not many out there. Are there strong cards? Yes. Are there strong cards that can do some damage really quick? Yes. But there's also these things called removable. The problem with Emrakul and the problem with Umlog is indestructible. So you can't play a destruction. You can't destroy target creature. You can only exile them, right? So then that narrows your focus on how many cards can be used to get rid of it, which then narrows the focus on which colors you can use, because there's only certain colors that have the ability to exile cards. But if there was a situation where it was destroy target creature and Umlog was not indestructible, or you can block with a bunch of creatures, or you can give them, damage or so on and so forth to knock him down, then Aetherworks Marvel no longer is broken. So getting past that whole rambling, the moral of what I'm trying to say, the moral of the story is this. Aetherworks Marvel is not the broken card. What's broken is the cards within the meta, within its ability, its grasp, its use for that card. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out our other videos. If you can, please support us on Patreon, or just hitting the like button and subscribing to our channel helps out greatly. See you next time.